doing there? How are we doing there? We took a picture.
This is not Eagles head coach Andy Reid. This is impersonator Steve Odabashian. But I probably know as much about this guy as I do Reid, who's been Philly's head coach for 11 years. You see, Andy's always played it close to the vest.
Andy, what's this team need to do to improve on third and short situations?
We need to convert them.
I love his press conferences. They're 25 words or less.
Yeah, listen, there's some good things and there's some bad things. So I'm not. It was a team effort.
He is the absolute best at saying nothing.
I don't know. The Dallas game is the Dallas game. I mean,
every press conference starts out with injuries.
All right, injuries.
Like we really care. The backup punter, sprained his toe.
Doc had a little dehydration and went in for a second. He's okay. So
everything that he does is a throat clear and a grumble and a cough.
We'll get it fixed.
Does he have cats?
He views a press conference as just something, I got to get through it. The league tells me I have to be here. I understand that this is part of the job description, so I'll do this. But I just cleared my throat like him, didn't I?
I think there was a contest about one of your press conferences, how many times you were going to cough.
Yeah, that's a nervous cough. That's an in-season cough, I call it.
Yeah.
We did not do a very good job, and that starts with me.
That's a release of pressure. See, a lot of people in high-profile jobs, they maintain this pressure. And if they would get one of those coughs, they get rid of all the pressure.
Or you could let it out the other end, too.
Well, you could do that, though. This one doesn't smell though.
Andy Reid is the winningest coach in Eagles history, but his public perception is shaped in these moments.
I don't know that Andy always understands, frankly, that when he's speaking to the media, he's speaking to the fan base. Dick Vermeil, who was here 2.5 decades ago, is still beloved in this town, in part because the media loved him. It wasn't that he won any championships, he didn't. But he was open and he wore his emotions on his sleeve. Buddy Ryan is still beloved in Philadelphia. People love Buddy Ryan. He never won a playoff game in Philadelphia, but he was just open.
I've been on a diet. I lost a couple of pounds, and I thought I was looking good.
In Philadelphia, we want to know you. And if you don't let us know you, we regard that as being unfriendly. We don't know Andy Reid.
People knew even less about Andy back in 1999 when he was hired as the Eagles head coach. He came from Green Bay, where he coached the tight ends and later the quarterbacks, including a young Brett Favre.
You know what, Andy? I love you, man.
Yeah, I can tell.
Reid's Philadelphia tenure got off to a shaky start.
I remember my first year, and we weren't very good. I think we went either 4 or 5 games of just getting our tail kicked before anything positive happened.
This is ugly. I think you're being kind.
And I remember I got a phone call from Parcells, actually. He had told me this when we played him in the preseason. He said, listen, you are in the roughest place in the National Football League.
Well, I'm going to tell you, you're coaching in the toughest town in the NFL.
No, I know, I heard you.
It's not close for second. 81, they blew Santa Claus.
No, I know, you were there.
That's the truth. I was there.
He says, the fans are passionate, and the media, they want to rip your head off. And we all need somebody to talk to. Understand that.
If you ever need anybody to talk to, just call me up. I might. All right, just do it. You just do it. I'm not, hey, and we all need that. You think I don't need somebody?
You make sure you call me if things aren't going good, and they're not going to go very good because you don't have a very good football team. And I said, well, I'm going to show you. I got that 5th game. I didn't call anybody, man. I was like hiding under the desk, and he calls me up and he goes, hey, listen, you SOB, you think you're John Wayne, don't you? He says, I told you, we all need somebody to talk to. He says, you're hiding right now, aren't you? I said, I'm absolutely hiding, man. That door is closed, locked, and I'm in my office, and I don't want to come out. And he says, hey, stand tall and get going.
That Andy Reid, he's a nice kid. I never met him before. You imagine what's going through that poor son of a gun's head right now?
Andrew Reid was no John Wayne, but he did serve Wayne as a young boy growing up in Los Angeles.
I worked for the Nicola twins meat market, and they were connected into Hollywood. So we would do these catering jobs to the Merv Griffin show, Johnny Carson, Batman, that whole deal. And so I was in charge of sweet and sour meatballs. Now, you can only have 3 sweet and sour meatballs. You come to my station, it's 3 sweet and sour meatballs. So John Wayne's coming. If he asks for more, hey, no, there's 3 sweet and sour meatballs.
You served John Wayne?
Oh, all of them, yeah. Now, listen, I had no idea. I didn't know who these guys were. If you were an athlete, I knew you. If Wilt Chamberlain came through, dude, you're getting as many meatballs as you want, man. I'm putting them on there.
But John Wayne only gets 3.
Oh, yeah, only 3, man. Only 3.
Reid has always been stubborn, whether it's meatballs or draft picks.
With the second pick, the Philadelphia Eagles select Donovan McNabb, quarterback, Syracuse University.
In 1999, he drafted Donovan McNabb when everyone wanted Ricky Williams, and then refused to play McNabb when everyone said he should.
You're looking at a coach at 0-4 who's drafted a quarterback that no one wanted anyway. But as they were losing this Dallas game and being shut out without a first down, the crowd's just screaming, McNabb, McNabb, and that was the good stuff. But Andy, he had told me why he wouldn't play at McNabb at all costs, because he wouldn't ruin him. He said, until the offensive line is solidified, that's the first time I'll consider playing him. So they come out the second half, he doesn't play McNabb. Well, now this crowd is berserk. A lot of F-bombs are going off, batteries are raining down, and I'm thinking to myself, he won't survive this day. Well, not only does he survive the day, they rally and win this game with Doug Peterson.
He's got Johnson at the 10, in for the touchdown! And the Eagles have pulled off one of the biggest upsets in their history.
Andy Reid was a man with a plan, and it was going to be his way, period.
The plan worked. Reid was patient with McNabb and rebuilt the team around him.
But this is your show. How you go, it goes, all the way.
The Eagles went from 5-11 in 1999 to 11-5 in 2000, and Reid won Coach of the Year.
We had a lot of veteran players on that team. Very easily they could have gone, you know what, this young guy right here, this young chubby redhead, he's out of his mind. But they didn't. They all rallied in. They bought in. They bought into Donovan. They bought into Andy, and we went on to change that thing around.
How about those Eagles, baby? Hey, I just have one question. Who's number 1?
He sometimes drives a Model A Ford. He has a 1-inch vertical leap. But who is Andy Reid, really?
First and foremost, Andy Reid is a good and decent man.
I like that guy.
I would like to have Andy Reid for my next door neighbor, because I could give him the key to my house, be gone for 2 weeks, and know everything will be fine when I get back home.
He has a hard outer shell, but behind it, I know he's a sensitive guy. And I think he's self-deprecating with his weight, for instance.
You been watching Shark Week? I have. I saw those great whites throwing those seals around. If they think a seal's good, if I'm swimming out there, that's not my gun. He thinks he's at Old Country Buffet.
He'll joke and tease about his weight. But if you bring it up, I think it's a sensitive subject.
What do you think is the biggest misconception about Andy Reid?
Well, that I weigh over 250 pounds. No, I think the biggest misconception is that the guy doesn't have a personality. They probably think I'm as cold at the press conference as I am with the players and my coaches, and that's not how I operate.
Oh, thank you. That was a cup check right there. No, I'm all right.
He is the most fun-loving guy that you could ever be around. Loves to joke and tease, rib people.
Zeus reincarnated, right there. Look at him. I mean, that's a Greek god right there. Look at him. Someday I want to be a Greek god like you.
Now, his players know that, but the media locally never get that.
In college, Reid played guard and tackle for BYU. His football roots go even deeper.
The pump, pass, and kick I did when I was 12 and 13, and I was lucky enough to be on Monday Night Football.
Ladies and gentlemen, you're about to see 12 very determined 8 to 13-year-old participants in the 11th annual punt, pass, and kick competition.
I was a big kid. I was one of those kids that you looked at and you went, whoa.
No way.
My brother's 10 years older than I am. He's 10 years older than I am. He's at Humboldt State. He's sitting in a bar with his buddies watching Monday Night Football. He has no idea I'm in this. And all of a sudden, they go.
Now across the field to Andrew Reid from Los Angeles, California.
Don Meredith was going off. I mean, he was going, look at the size of this guy. Oh, my gosh. And my brother goes, holy Toledo, that's my brother right there. So I remember I was so big. They gave me the pump, pass, and kick shoulder pads, and they didn't fit. So they went into the Ram locker room, and they brought out Lester Josephson's jersey.
The running back.
The jersey and his shoulder pads. They taped up the name on the back of the jersey. They threw it on me, and I had his shoulder pads. I wore his shoulder pads all the way through high school.
Andrew Reid, a little offline.
In Philadelphia, Reid has been a huge success. 5 division titles, a 2004 trip to the Super Bowl, and a winning percentage second only to Bill Belichick among active coaches.
To the winningest coach in the history of the Philadelphia Eagles.
But locally, many define Reid by his shortcomings. 4 NFC championship losses, poor clock management.
I think they're being a little too casual with the time.
An unbalanced, pass-happy offense.
Coach Reid, run the ball.
Run the ball, Andy. There will be no running of the ball.
Run the ball.
In the Reid era, the Eagles have thrown the ball 59% of the time. It's the most pass-oriented offense under any coach in NFL history.
And it is caught, and running in for a touchdown is Deshaun Jackson.
The whole field to me is the red zone. A lot of people say we're going to take one shot a quarter. I'm saying I really don't go by that rule. I'm coming after you, and we're going to rip your heart out.
I just want to know what
You want to know what the first play is?
Yeah, right.
Just turn small play.
First play, we're going deep.
Really?
Yeah. Watch Charles Johnson. Are any of your dad's newscasters?
Perhaps Reid's evasiveness with the media has less to do with him and more to do with the players and coaches he expects to lead on Sundays.
He takes all the heat, and when he does that, when I make a mistake and I know he takes all the heat, I'm going to work more.
That's one of the reasons why I think he's had his success over the years is because he doesn't throw guys under the bus.
First of all, it starts with me. I've got to be able to put the players in better position.
Nobody wants to be criticized out in public. I don't want to be criticized out in public, but I'm not going to do that to the players. There's going to be a time in a game where that player's got the ultimate trust in you, and you have to have the ultimate trust in him. And if you've destroyed that trust out in public, you can never regain that.
I believe a lot of guys respect him for that. He still holds guys accountable. He just doesn't do it through the media.
Again, that's my responsibility. This is my football team to make sure that they play better than that, and I will make sure that that happens.
Do you sense any of the fans' frustration with that?
Absolutely.
When they know, damn it, it isn't the coach's fault.
I think it's an offensive lineman's mentality. That's what I really think it is. You take care of each other.
I will go to war with this crew right in any town in the National Football League. Right here, baby.
Andy Reid is a tremendous coach, and yet he is public enemy #1 year after year because he hasn't been able to win a Super Bowl.
They need to get rid of McNabb. They need to get rid of Reid.
I understand if you're a fan and you never win a championship, you're going to have a little bit of a throw the bum out attitude, which is fair. But there's something pretty good about being able to say we're going to win 11 this year and we'll take our chances.
I've been fairly critical of Andy in his time here, and he's aware of that. But a year ago, my mom passed away, and the obituary ran in the newspaper. And the obituary pointed out that my mother was an Eagles season ticket holder from the Steve Van Buren days in the 40s. And my wife called me, and she said, you're not going to believe who just called the house. So it was Andy Reid. Now, this was the middle of the season on a Tuesday, which is game plan day, and that's the busiest day of the week. And so I called him, got on the phone, and he and I talked for about 20 minutes. And it was the most I had ever spoken to him, ever. And he said, look, I just wanted to tell you that I saw the obituary, and your mother sounded like a real cool lady. And I just wanted to tell you that I was thinking about you. And I'll always remember that, because that was an act of true kindness on his part. That's another part of that personality that he doesn't show very much.
I just know this about Coach, that if a car was going to hit him, I jumped in front for him. A bullet was going to hit him, I jumped in front for him. That's it. You know, that's love. You know what I mean? I love him like that. Why? Because he takes care of you. Everybody's not like that, you know? As a player, man, God, would I love to play for a man like that.
How do you think Compton? You guys are, this is long, Derek.
For Andy Reid, brevity may be the key to his longevity with the Eagles.
I bring a 3x5 card into every meeting. All right, we have a new game plan coming in. If I can't get it on that 3x5 card, you're not hearing it. So my team meetings are like that. I don't spend a lot of time because those players, they don't want to hear it all. The attention span of a National Football League football player is 15 minutes. What they want to do is play football. They want you to give them the information, coaching points that make them the greatest possible player that they can be, and then go play the game. Shoot, you ready to go? You better be ready.
Reid is one of the few NFL coaches with ultimate authority over personnel. No matter how close he is to his players, he will never keep one past his prime. In the last 3 years, he said goodbye to longtime Eagles Trey Thomas, Brian Dawkins, Brian Westbrook, and Donovan McNabb.
That's the thing about football. You have to realize from the time you get drafted, you're like a carton of milk. You have an expiration date. Regardless, the coach tell you you're my guy. Yeah, you're his guy. But you best believe in the game of football, they're always looking to upgrade.
I guess maybe that comes back to someone like Donovan, who you were tethered to for so long. That must have been a very difficult.
Well, it didn't end as a bad divorce. We're still good friends. But as strong as my relationship is with Donovan, all of us are just renting space in the National Football League. As a football player, you reach a certain age, and now you got to go. Even though your mind's sharp and your body still might have a couple, 2-3 years left in it, that's something that constitutes change. And you can't think of one person, you have to think of the whole organization.
Having that mindset of once you're 30, we're trying to get rid of you. You know, I think that's the dumbest thing I ever heard. You watch many guys beyond 30, they have exceptional careers. But in the Eagles, they begin to want to push you out and not spend the money in key position.
He knew that it was Groundhog Day with Donovan McNabb, and how many coaches in the NFL would have said, I'm going with the totally unproven kid over the guy who's got a chance to have a bust in Canton one day and he's still in his prime.
All right, buddy. Come here. All right. Nice job.
And you know, it's funny because I've seen a lot of broadcasters talk about that he wasn't loyal. I mean, hell, he was loyal to him for 11 seasons. Donovan had a hell of a run in Philadelphia. And I do believe he's going to have a hell of a run in Washington, but sometimes you just have to move on.
Everybody make mistakes in their lifetime, and they made one last year, so.
Trading McNabb was not nearly as controversial as signing Mike Vick, who spent 18 months in federal prison for his role in a dogfighting ring.
At heart, he's a good person. I brought him in because he's a good football player, but there were some underlying things to this. He was going through the same situation my boys were going through at the same time.
In January of 2007, 2 of Reid's 5 children were arrested in separate incidents on the same day. One for gun-related road rage, the other for an accident while driving under the influence.
I had sat every Thursday at the different prisons that the boys were at. And the thing that I got out of that was that these guys that are incarcerated, they go kind of through 3 phases. The first phase is, I didn't do anything, it's not my fault. The second phase they hit is, man, I screwed up. I did do this. The third phase is, I goofed up, and this ain't never happening again. So it was no different with Michael. Listen now, this is a pretty serious deal. I mean, this was not a good deal. But he is bound and determined. He's reached that 3rd stage. He's bound and determined to do the right thing.
I'm a believer that as long as people go through the right process, they deserve a second chance.
I take my hat off to Andy because when Michael Vick came, he brought a lot of baggage with him. And no one knew how the situation would turn out.
No one expected Vick to become the Eagles' starting quarterback.
He's across the 5. Michael Vick, touchdown!
Can you throw the ball? Yeah. Okay, we're going to give him one.
Certainly not the head coach.
Let me state it again. I mean, I know I'm using poor English. Kevin Cobb's the #1 quarterback. Michael Vick's the starting quarterback for the Philadelphia Eagles.
Reid deviated from the plan, and maybe that's a good thing, a sign that he has embraced change. But no matter how much he wins, will Philadelphia ever embrace Andy Reid?
It's a good sports town if you get it going. You know, they'll come out, they're loyal. It's just blue collar rough, you know.
You know, we are not people in the Midwest who are just content to have a football team in our city, and we can tailgate, and we can hug people, and we can paint our face. People in Philadelphia want one thing right now: win something.
They want it bad. We want it worse. I know for Coach, this is our legacy right here. You know, a lot depends on it. We have to win a Super Bowl.
You losing that NFC Championship game, especially as many times as we have, that makes you strong. Now, it also makes your drive even greater to get to that Super Bowl and to win the Super Bowl. We are all striving to go get that ring.
The main objective is to score, you know, not let them score.
His press conferences are unlikely to improve, but the hard outer shell may be softening.
He did a radio interview recently with a local radio guy named Mike Missinelli, and he was very, very funny.
I thought it was an impersonator. I really did.
So I sent him an email right away, and I said, Andy, you were personable, you were insightful, funny, hilarious. Keep it up. I never got a response back. So.
Perhaps Reid is too much of a coach to worry about his popularity. But no matter what his friends, players, or critics think, it's good to be Andy Reid.
Another football Sunday. Gotta love it.
The way I look at it is I'm one of the luckiest guys in the world to be doing what I'm doing. And that's why I wake up, man.
Hell of a way to make a living.
We've had our trials and tribulations on the field and off the field as a family, as a team, but you keep working through it. I mean, I'm one of 32 people in the whole world that gets coached in the National Football League. So I wake up and I'm fired up. I mean, it's awesome.